This continent, we have to remember, and we shouldn't forget this, it could have easily developed into several different countries, as is the case in the Americas, particularly South America, even North America, the Caribbean and Africa. We could have easily been several independent countries. We wouldn't have become the single country. We're the only continent in the world where the sublime visions of one people, one destiny, and a nation for a continent and a continent for a nation actually prevailed. They were fulfilled. And this was done by the people of Australia. It wasn't done by the politicians alone. So why not now save the nation and take back your country from the people who are making such a mess of it? Remember, the bickering among colonial politicians in 19th century Australia ensured that the Constitution was drafted by a convention and that it would be enacted. Because there was such a disappointment in Australia when the first convention produced a constitution in 1891 and it went back to the colonial parliaments and the politicians bickered so much, there was a movement among the people of Australia to fix this up. And there was a conference, a people's conference, not organised by any of the governments, at 1893 in Corowa. And that is why Corowa is so important in the history of our country. I doubt that it's being taught in the schools of Australia at the moment. And the Corowa plan is crucial for explaining how this country was formed. The various associations met at Corowa. There was the Australian Natives Association. Our ancestors understood what native and indigenous mean. It meant being born in this country. And there was an organisation called the Australian Natives Association, which was anybody born here could join it if they wanted to, and various federation leagues. Towards the end of that conference at Corowa, a man who should be a hero, school children should know who he was. And he was John Quick, later Sir John Quick. And he became quite significant in the federal movement. He proposed a remarkably simple solution to the fact that we were never going to become a federation because of the bickering politicians. He realised that once a constitution was drafted at a nominated convention and put to the different colonies, the colonial parliaments, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne, the others too, they would bicker and want changes and so on. Well, he put up a resolution which was adopted, and as I say, it became known as the Corowa Plan. The whole point was to take the fate of federation out of the hands of the politicians. Just as today we should take the fate of Australia out of the hands of the politicians who are making such a mess of this country. So what should we do? His proposal was to have an elected convention, each state electing a number of delegates. But the crucial thing was that once the convention agreed on a draft, this would be circulated, made widely available for comment, also particularly circulated to the colonial parliaments, but they would not approve it. It would then come back with all the comments to the convention, which would meet again. It was an unpaid convention, by the way, and I think that's important to bear in mind. Nobody was there to make money and get lots of expenses and overseas trips and all that sort of thing that goes on these days. They were there to draft the Constitution. And the idea was that once they drafted it and it was discussed, they'd go back and do a final draft, and then that would be put to the people in each state or colony, and there would be a referendum in each state And if more than if two states or more agreed on the Constitution, it would be then sent to London for enactment by the British Parliament, because it couldn't be, there was nobody else to enact it. We were part of the British Empire and would have to go to the British, and there was an assumption that the British would do what we wanted them to do. Well, Quick's proposal was to put the future of federation into the hands of the people, just as you should now have the future of this country in your hands.